Tawana Freeman with the Black Life Coaches Network, and I am so glad you can join us for another episode of BLC TV. Well, this is, I don't know how to even start this particular episode. I have had I don't know if you want to call it a girl crush or what, but Tia Brown is one of those individuals in the media that you see and you want to know who she is, where she came from, and how often can we see her again. Tia, I am so glad that I can just get a minute of your time to be a part of our show. People have no idea what your resume looks like. And I mean, you have an incredible education, people who pick up a jet, people who log on to essence.com. If you've ever looked at CNN, I mean, the list goes on. Tia even is now on one of the new shows on TV One called Life After. Everybody, please welcome Tia Brown. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. That was an excellent introduction. I feel like I'm levitating a little bit over here. Wow.
You actually are dynamic, girl. You have so much going on. But what is actually so funny? People don't know you are a life coach as well. I mean, add that cherry on top of the cake. People have no idea that you can have so much going on and then you have that element of service in your life. So tell the audience about who you are, what got you, into journalism, and a full scope of the journey that you took as we know you today.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is S. Tia Brown, and I am a native New Yorker, born and raised in Brooklyn. I went to Howard University for undergraduate school. Always knew I wanted to go to an HBCU, thanks to Dr. Bill Cosby, watching A Different World.
Right.
And I really enjoyed my experience at the university because it gave me an opportunity to explore different areas of interest. And while I was an undergrad, my major was actually legal comm. I wanted to be a lawyer, but I really knew that writing and talking and talking and talking and listening and helping others was a big part of my passion. So I took a leap of faith. I dropped out of law school after the first week of law school.
What?
During orientation. I did. Crying, tears, everything. And I gave myself a year. I took a deferment and I applied to Columbia's Graduate School of Journalism and New York University. And I said, God willing, I'll get into one and start living my dream. I knew that writing and telling stories and helping people was definitely something that I wanted to do. And one of the great things that happened once I got into journalism school is that so many other doors opened. I ultimately went to Columbia University and I just got to network with different people, and I had different women and mentors, men and women, I should say, open doors for me. And I was able to get my first job at Teen People magazine, which was the #1 teen magazine during that time. Yeah, interviewed tons of celebrities. And then from there, I transitioned to In Touch Weekly, which is a tabloid, a celebrity weekly. But, at first, after being at a big company like Teen People, I was a little bit hesitant to go to a tabloid. But I got so many new opportunities there. So I was able to become their international spokesperson, which, again, talk. That's what I love to do. And that really helped me expand my brand, have a new platform to reach people. And also, when I would talk on television, on the radio, I got to talk about more than just gossip. I always would try to infuse how to help, why people behave like this, what are things that we should be looking for. And during that time, I realized that I wanted to do more than just gossip journalism, entertainment journalism. I wanted to transition into doing something that I felt was more empowering and uplifting. Mm-hmm. And that's what led me to be a coach. I went to a coaching program. I got a certification, and then after that, I went to graduate school and got a license in social work. Got a degree in social work, and then I got a license in New York State to be a licensed therapist.
Okay,
so I juggle both.
Now you all know what I mean when I say stacks in this resume of hers. So we have Howard University. Obviously, I'm an alumni. So good people hang together.
Yes.
Then you have Columbia. Then you have coaching certification. Now let's connect a few things. So your passion to communicate, your ability to not only tell a story to where it helps people, to bring them information to where it's life changing. I want to connect that part of your background as a journalist to the life coaching, because where I know best is through your work in the community, your outreach work that you do with women, and being able to help women as far as their businesses are concerned. You're an awesome networker. You've mentored many. So when it comes to understanding the coaching aspect of what you do, I think our audience should understand, what was the aha moment for you to take something like life coaching and add that to what you do as a journalist?
I got my first opportunity to be on television because of a tragedy. Anna Nicole Smith was a person who married an older gentleman, and her life was spiraling out of control. And it was so newsworthy that they needed constant commentary on it. And I just felt that was a great opportunity to talk about more than just what a person is doing. Right. But what makes a person, excuse me, do those kinds of things, and, what universal qualities, traumas, hurts impact a person. I wanted to humanize her, and I wanted to give tools to make sure that we know that everyone doesn't get a chance or isn't put in a situation to fight for hundreds of millions of dollars, but we are all fighting for our lives in some way. And there are a lot of people who have experienced trauma and go through devastating things. And I just felt like, before then I was doing lifestyle writing as well as entertainment and gossip writing. So I would do, tips on personal finance or self-help tips and things like that. But that was really an opportunity for me to say, hey, I can spin this story in a way that doesn't vilify her.
Right.
And the more I spoke about celebrities, I was talking about Britney Spears, Angelina Jolie, Paris Hilton. And I was just like, this is an opportunity to do both, to kind of give a little bit of edutainment,
Right. Absolutely. And so with your practice, do you still work with clients whenever you have time?
I do. I love working with clients. I recently kind of redid my practice and have additional partners. And I see clients predominantly on the weekends, because my week is extremely hectic with the journalism stuff. And then I also get to meet people, mentor people in different ways, and then I do different speaking engagements. Mm-hmm. So initially I thought that I would have like this great opportunity to, say, work as a journalist from 9 to 5 and have my practice from 6 to 9. Right. And, life doesn't always work out that way. But, you just rejigger, and I try to make it work to the best of my ability.
Absolutely. And you do a fantastic job. And a lot of coaches out there a lot of people who have mixed careers. There's nothing wrong with having a life coaching practice and having it merge into other aspects of your career. So as a coach, what are you working with your clients around? Because I see overcoming obstacles. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. So you live that. You actually
I try
through that. And so tell me a little bit about the type of client you coach, and what are some of the consistent issues that they have that, that are typically coming your way.
I usually work with females, I would say between the ages of 18 and 40. And I think the biggest issue that I see people dealing with is stress management. We all want to balance having it all. And I really work with them on coping skills, dealing with different trauma, and really creating a realistic plan for their personal lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. And so with that, talking about a lot of women who are based in New York, who have the hectic life just like you, or they different parts of the world and need a particular profession?
It's basically women who are in the New York City area. So the tri-state area is Jersey, Connecticut, New York. Sometimes I'll do phone sessions. It just depends on the client. And yes, definitely a lot of people are just dealing with, I wouldn't even say balancing like we are, maybe 2 or 3 jobs, but even managing one career with multiple things going on in their lives. We all have different identities even within the most basic things that we're doing. So we have motherhood, sisterhood, daughterhood, being a wife. All of these things are hard. Relationships with coworkers. And a lot of times people feel like it's me. I'm going crazy. There's a sense of inadequacy because I can't do something.
Right.
So, we really just having an opportunity to talk that out. One of the things that I firmly believe is that a person is an expert in who they are. So people come to me thinking, I'm going to have all of the answers. And yes, I do have some. We have great suggestions as coaches, but really it's about figuring out what works best for you. I could say, don't talk like this, or don't do this, or don't go here, but you know what works for your own lifestyle. So we really also work on confidence and trusting that inner voice.
Absolutely.
Knowing, I know what I need. People who are mothers and working and wives, they know why they're tired. They're doing too much, but how do I get to the point where I'm comfortable saying no here and being okay with dealing with what may be perceived as failure because I'm not doing, all 10 things on my list and kind of re-strategizing and saying, these are the 5 that are important to me. How do I make time for myself in the midst of being a caretaker for others? Or how do I push myself to get to a goal where when I have real life things that seem like they're insurmountable? So those are the types of things that we work through.
So Tia, how are you doing in that area? Who's helping you as you are in this journey? Do you have a coach?
I have had coaches at different times. I've been in therapy at different times. I'm very open with telling clients that we all have our own trauma. One of the biggest things that happened to me is my mother passed away and she had cancer. And that's something where, you might think you've dealt with it, but later on, you always are dealing with grief in different phases. I've also had personal hardships like getting laid off, and there are things that shake your confidence. So I've definitely had coaches. I also have really supportive girlfriends, supportive male friends as well. But, your girlfriends give you something different. They can look at you and kind of say, what's going on?
Right.
So I kind of use like a medley of all of those different things when I'm feeling down in the dumps. And I love to read. So, that's very helpful. And not only like self-help books, but I also love to read romance novels. And I know people might think that's a little bit kooky, but they give me inspiration about life. One of those things I read historical romance novels. And I feel like they give a great, they give me a great perspective, and it might be a little bit idealistic about the possibilities of life, and not just love, but just life in general, because, heroines are, usually overcome ridiculous obstacles, and it's inspirational. So it's fun for me to read.
There's so much that we could get into. And one of the things I want people to take away from this interview with you is that, one, you're obviously being very successful. You have accomplished so many wonderful things in your young life, and you are still, you're at the beginning of so much. Sometimes you could think, well, after your education and after your first job and after you've gone through so much, now what? So Tia, what is next for you?
I'm definitely looking to take my brand to another medium. Television full-time is my big goal. So fingers crossed, that's what's next for me. I also would love to be able to touch more people with the coaching. So I would love to do like a national tour, with a panel of coaches. I specifically have a passion for young women. I feel like I'm in a place now in my life where for the quarter lifers and under, I can say been there, done that. I completely understand in a way that's different than I relate to other clients.
Absolutely.
And I love being part of the installation of hope. I feel like when women look at me, and whether they're Black, white, Hispanic, there's so many different identities there that people find something very relatable. I came from a tough neighborhood, and I'm living my dream in many ways. So, I would love to do that. So those are the first 2 things on my list.
Wow. And it doesn't stop there, Tia. I mean, obviously, as you continue, I pray that the door will open for you. You're doing a great job, and I'm glad that you're telling the story the right way, bringing, the truth when sometimes it's hidden, or whether it's on purpose or it's overlooked. I appreciate the fact that you add value that way. And so for all the women that are watching who are being inspired, especially the young women, I absolutely encourage you to learn more about Tia as an example, and watch, read more about her work, or just see how she has applied her education. And it's not about, this, Tia, it's not about majoring in something very specific and then thinking that you have to live your life according to what you studied, find that job in this particular field. Sometimes your education takes you on a different journey, and so
Definitely.
you have to be open sometimes when God reveals an opportunity, and you have what it takes to walk in that room. I say go for it. And
I agree.
that's right, and that's what you represent, Tia, and I appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to say the biggest thing the thing that you touched on that resonated the most with me is not feeling trapped by education or even lack thereof. There was a time when people got a degree and that's what they did for their entire lives.
Right.
And we're not in that era anymore. So believe that you can do something that you love doing as much as, we all have ups and downs in our career. I'm so happy that I chose to do things that I love doing.
Right.
And, when you mentioned things about me being on TV, I forget, because
Yeah.
when you're trying to get to a certain point, there's only Oprah and everybody else.
That's true.
So
You're right.
there is so much gray area. I'm like, yeah, I'm on a few shows. I feel blessed, but it's those moments when you're doing other things and people recognize you and you're like, oh, wow, I've touched people in a different way. And
Yes.
so it's a great feeling.
Thank you so much, Tia. This has been a great joy of mine. I appreciate your time, and I hope to have you back as we, check back in with you around some other topic areas that are going on in our community, and that you potentially shed some light on it. I'd really love to be able to circle back with you and have some more dialogue.
Definitely. I look forward to coming back. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Take something like life coaching and add that to what you do as a journalist.
I got my first opportunity to be on television because of a tragedy. Anna Nicole Smith was a person who married an older gentleman, and her life was spiraling out of control. And it was so newsworthy that they needed constant commentary on it. And I just